Hello everyone. So today we're gonna see around marketing operations and content strategy, how to build a demand engine instead of just churning out the content using the regular content calendars that you are using. Okay, let's get straight into it. You are publishing content, and your team is very busy. That they are having the content calendar, the contents are being published as per the schedule, blogs are going out every week, uh, you are posting things on social medias, you are amplifying the contents across all formats and all channels. So someone's always working on next big thing that in within your content team, and everything looks very productive. The engine is running very effectively from the outside, right? But when you take a very closer look into it, especially if when you are leading the marketing team, at some point of the other, that you start to realize that you are you are driving some metrics like the blog's traffic is getting improved, the engagement is great, and all those things are happening, but your content efforts are not syncing with the motion that actually drives the revenue. The sales team still doesn't have what they require, or they don't have, I mean, they don't see a lot of tractions coming out of your content um bucket. The campaigns are stitched out, I mean, stitched together at the last minute. Your best content assets are uh, buried deeply, and the content somehow feels like it's orbiting the rest of the business, not tightly integrated into it. Let's think about it, right? So where this disconnect begins, okay, so where this disconnect begins, that this is one of the most common patterns we see when someone approaches us and tells that, uh, Balaji, we are turning out a lot of we are having a lot of contents, we have published really in-depth and insightful contents that no one of our competitors has published, and still we cannot able to see a significant change in how the content influences the sales pipeline, or influences and as sales qualified leads. So content teams are usually driven by things like editorial content, calendars, product launches, or keyword research. I'm not saying these are all bad things. They are actually necessary. It's in fact very fundamental of what we are doing in content team. But there is an issue. Why the why behind the content is that the deeper purpose gets faded away. No one asking is why it's required. No one people are asking what it is and how we are going to write it and how we are going to amplify it. But most people in the marketing teams forgets about the purpose of what they are trying to create. No one passes to ask what role does this play in the buying journey. Is this mapped to any life cycle stage in our CRM? Does sales even want to do this or need this, whether it will help them to enable, I mean, for the sales enablement. If a prospect is looking at have visited like 2 or 3 times the MQL or a lead stage or subscriber stage, and they are showing some interest into a particular feature of a product, is this content is going to help them take a decision, or is it going to make them feel that they cannot live without what we are offering? Is it going to create the demand? So this results in that the team usually ends up publishing a well-written content, thoughtful content, but again, that doesn't go anywhere. It's not reused, it's not amplified, it's not measured beyond the surface metrics as like the page views or the time on page, engagement time, and all. And because everyone is so focused on shipping things and taking things out of their to-do list, but no one realizes that half of what's being published is not actually supposed, it's not actually supporting the pipeline's progression. The pipeline is not moving, they are stalled, and and prospect didn't see it clearly that where you want them to move ahead to. It's kind of like shocking the shelves with beautifully packaged products, but never training your sales floor to sell them, or even telling the customers why they are there. Yeah. So the campaigns are moving fast without the content's context. Um, let's shift the campaign side of things. So for instance, the demand generation, the account based marketing, the paid teams, so these folds are into the execution mode all the time. They are launching the nurture sequences, building the landing pages, rolling out the next LinkedIn campaigns, and to keep things moving, they even grab content from wherever they can find, maybe from a shared folder or wherever the content is available, maybe from the last campaign that kind of sort of worked lastly, and they have a gut feeling that this is also going to work because the last campaign worked really well. But no one actually checks whether the content is actually designed to serve the moment. Is that blog used in a lead nurturing part of it? um, uh, is the gated asset promoted in a retargeting ads? It doesn't match is it matching the intent or persona of the users? That case study, is it going to be in a part of an email drip? um, so all this kind of questions comes up. But what you get is campaigns that technically go live, but that they feel that they still feel that disjoint. They are not serving the purpose. They don't know like where it fits into that conversion journey, and they are pretty much harder to move it from that stage to another. So there's no choreography, just a bunch of one play. We are not clearly doing an orchestration. We are just creating content, more and more content that we guess that they require, but we are unable to fit that content in a particularly exact journey of the customer. And no one can tell if the content had any impact because it was not properly tagged or tracked or followed through. um, you're not just wasting the content potential, you're also wasting an opportunity to build trust. So it earns attention and moves deals forward. That is not happening with the content that you are creating. So um, content teams think that they are done once a piece is published. Campaign teams assume that the content has already been optimized and ready to plug in. And the sales team, they often don't know what exists or what, they don't even trust the source. So they go on and build their own resources for speaking with a prospect. And somewhere in the middle of all that, the operational glue that should be connecting creation to conversion doesn't even exist at all. You don't have that process for tagging the content by mapping it into your funnel stage. There are no triggers to move someone from the awareness content to decision stage follow up. No tracking inside the CRM to say like, hey, this content touched 5 or 6 times, help to close win the deals this quarter. This kind of clarity is what is not available with this kind of strategy. You are unable to have this kind of insights out of your this whole content thing. And um, and that's what we call as the messy middle part. When no one owns it, it becomes a black hole. So everyone know what they are doing, but no one knows why they are doing, and how their contribution is going to affect the revenue of it. Is it going to increase the revenue or not? Is it going to move the prospect from one stage to the other stage, and all this stuff? um, so this is not a problem. I don't see this as a problem of creativity. I see this as a problem of connection. And connection, you may ask, like, connection between what? Connection between the prospect, between the customers, between the potential customers to the content that you are, to the product that you have been selling for. That's the disjoint I think is happening. Okay. So when a content is not tied to the plans that you are making, and the funnels you are creating, and the martech stack that you are using, then it's not a strategic thing, right? It's just noise with a good design, but it's just noise. At the end of the day, we will just call it as noise, because the disconnect just not just waste effort, and it costs you leads, the time it requires to move one prospect to the next one, and it actually drags down the ROI potential of the whole campaign. and the whole content library that you are building. And because no one quite explained the why part of things, and a team as a whole does not have that clear picture. And this is where marketing operations steps in to align the strategy with execution and connect what your brand is saying to how your business is selling. Because when content is truly operationalized, you don't just create you more content, you create more impact. um, let's see how the operations marketing operations changes the game. Let's say you have acknowledged the disconnect and you have found where the disconnect is happening. Campaigns or they're not moving in sync, and you got assets floating around here and there, and you are pretty much confident that all of them are of high quality and your prospects will be interested in reading it, but they are not landing where they need to, where you want them to deliberately act upon. You have got campaigns going out, but they are duct taped together and harder to sell. So now what? This is where the marketing operation steps in, and it becomes it tries to create the content operations, I would say, not as a fixer but as a connector. Think of this marketing operations as a part of the engine that finally puts structure all around your marketing operation, all around your marketing motions. This is not to slow them down, but to give everything, um, but to give a purpose that everything that your content team is doing, to give a clarity, to give an accountability through tracking things, right? Because great content doesn't care create demand by itself. You can call it as a great content, but you cannot confidently say that it is creating demand for your product or services. But when it's backed by this well-oiled operations infrastructure, it becomes unstoppable, and you can confidently say that which part of the content is driving the impact. Okay, so uh, let's try to structurize these things. Structurizing a content with intent and not just keywords or theme. So in many organizations, content strategy starts with a well-meaning editorial goals, right? So this team looks at the trending topics that is currently popular about the market that they are trying to serve, and they do all kind of this trend analysis, market analysis, SEO audits. They brainstorm thought leadership themes, um, uh, but from what the business actually needs this quarter, which is revenue or the ROI that they are trying to get, or that's what you need to align that the plan with. So the questions you should be asking should be, what campaigns are we running next quarter with respect to content? What are the strategic bids? What is the new vertical? What's the new personas that we are targeting? Any new markets that we are entering into? What role does sales play, or what role does this content is playing in the sales enablement part of it? What are all the deals getting stuck in the funnel, and how can this content help move them forward? And when you ask such questions, then they are not just guessing it anymore. They start to have the answers, that they are building assets with a very clear purpose aligned to the goals that matters, which is speeding up the deals velocity, improving the MQL SQL ratio, or even enabling outbound teams to perform better. Okay, so uh, yep. So let's see a few examples out there. Let's talk structure a little bit, right? Um, because without the structure, and even the best content gets lost. Most company have dozens of assets like blogs, guides, how to's, webinars, case studies, but they all sitting in the shared drives, scattered across tools or hidden in people's inboxes. So this is where the marketing operations brings order to the chaos. They help build systems where every piece of content is tagged by the funnel stage, like the top of the funnel to bottom of the funnel, to how the persona is being mapped, the product line, even the sales objections is tries to address, right? The content is mapped to the campaigns and use cases, and it's clearly not just floating around as general education. You might have a central library built and which is searchable, so marketing and sales teams can find the content that they are trying to build. Like it could be a part of the nurture sequences, it could be a SEO campaign, it could be a PPC. They are really accessible, and it makes meaningful for them to uh, plug that content into the specific campaign, and they are clearly they are doing it very deliberately and with an intention, that by knowing that their persona, the customer journey that they are going to impact, this level of clarity is not there when we are not talking about the marketing operations part of the things. And CRM systems can track who consumes what content. You can start attributing real business values to the content. And so yeah, so enabling, how can we enable the activation across this funnel? Publishing content is only the half of the game, right? The real impact comes from activation, putting that content in motion in front of right people at the right time, and that's what we call it as the context of content. But in most organization, this is the step that gets skipped, and content gets created, maybe shared once on social or dropped into an email, and that's it. And they think that the purpose of the content is done with that. Then but the marketing operations changes this by embedding the content into the full funnel journey of the prospects. For instance, I would start with the top of the funnel blog post, which and or turn into entry points for nurture sequences. They are going to serve as a fuel for the next stage. You need to have a proper tagging and tracking system in the CRM for each of the content you are rolling out. Uh, for instance, if we take an example of middle of the funnel content, the guides and webinars are matched to the lead scoring models and email logics. For instance, let's say someone downloads an industry guide that you have published. They are now enrolled into a product focused email track within 24 hours, which is going to be valuable information for using that piece of data for the further nurture sequences, or to try to reach out to them by the account managers part of things. And now let's take about the bottom of the funnel. So for instance, if you have a case studies and ROI decks, or even a pricing deck you have, so these are all embedded into a sales cadences, or triggered automatically when a lead reaches a certain point, certain score of the lead scoring system, or the pipe, or a particular stage of the pipeline. Okay, so that's the power of activation, turning static assets into dynamic levers for growth. So you see, the marketing operations doesn't just keeps the trains running. It's make sure that trains are going in the right direction, right station. It stops at the right station, allows people to onboard, and with the right people. Of course, it's the difference between content that's published and forgotten, and the contents that's distributes, content that's tracked, content that is optimized and reused for the purpose, the clear purpose. If you ask me to say this in a very nutshell, I would say that without marketing operations, in the content part of it, content feels like it's floating everywhere. But with marketing operations, content actually performs, and you can clearly track how it performs, where it performs, when it performs. And that structure, the alignment, the operational part of it becomes your unfair advantage if you are able to implement these things. Now let's talk about the framework. Okay, content as a demand engine. How are you going to make your content as not just a piece of a part in the content calendar, but as a demand engine? You see, content is a fuel, marketing operations is an engine. Uh, when both when both works, or you can say without both of them working properly, you have just got a stuck car. Like you cannot drive it, but you have everything essential to drive it, but you cannot drive it further if any one of these are missing it. Okay, so marketing organizations treat contents like a production line. A lot of ideas comes in, a lot of ideas goes out in the form of assets, and the success is measured by how much of the contents get shipped every week or delivered every week. But if you take a look at high performing organizations, the kind of where the marketing is a pipeline machine, not just a cost center, content is not just a deliverable, it's a demand engine. They don't just see content as a deliverable part of their marketing team, but they see it as a engine for demand. It creates the demand, and like any engine, it needs the right parts, right fuel, and a clear route to drive that measurable outcomes. And that's where this framework comes in. So we call that framework as the content to revenue loop, you know. So so this content to revenue loop is built around four key motions, and when connected by marketing ops, turn your content from noise into a strategic growth lever, right? So it all starts with upstream before anything is written, design, or like shipped. So most content calendars begin with marketing goals, and which includes thought leadership that it tries to drive, traffic it tries to accumulate or attract, awareness it tries to build. That's a very good starting point, but not good enough. Instead, we begin asking by what are all the sales and pipeline priorities this quarter, and how and what kind of contents are going to fill these things, which segments or persona are we targeting, what are all the deal stack, and what conversations can we influence, um, which product lines or futures are under leveraged in current content. um, this questions flips the narrative from thinking just content as a creative exercise to a strategic resource allocation question. Um, so uh, let's say you are trying to grow a mid-market account in healthcare, but your content is still generic B2B. Right there, you have uncovered a gap that holds back your content before the event launch. Um, for instance, if you take an example of HubSpot, you can pull up a report of open or lost opportunities in that vertical. You can review notes from the sales team, to identify what are all the common objections that the prospects were having, or what are the most commonly asked questions that prospects are asking with the sales team, and feed those things into your content planning process. Builds it enables you to build a content wish list with access like a vertical specific case study, a pricing breakdown guide, or a thought leadership post addressing manufacturing supply chains. Like I'm saying an example from the manufacturing industry, but of course you can have your own example for that. So this ensures you are creating assets that answers questions already being asked by real buyers, and you are addressing those questions strategically, and you clearly know where these answers fit in, right? Okay, just a second. Right. So this is where marketing operations starts laying the groundwork for scale, making sure the content doesn't just exist, but it's usable, it's trackable, it's optimized, right? So every piece of content is tagged by the stage of the funnel it is present for, the persona it's speaking to, the intent it is trying to address, the stage of the awareness it has been created for. uh, then the next thing is that there should be a proper taxonomy structure that makes it easy to filter, sage, and reuse by across the marketing teams. Content is loaded into your marketing automation platforms or the CRM, not just sitting in Google Drive as a folder anymore, so that every member of your marketing team can able to um, strategically pull those thing contents that they require based on their persona, based on their awareness stage, based on their funnel stage. And campaign builders can easily find assets designed for each of the life cycle stage. Now you are not asking what should we send in this, now your team is not just asking what should we send in this nurture. um, um, uh, you are asking like what do we have that's already performing or already proven to perform for this particular segment. And this is where the demand engines takes shape. So because now instead of re-entering the wheel every time, your team is pulling from a system that's built to scale, right? um, for instance, you can have a centralized content database in Airtable. Every row has a content assets, and the columns can have a funnel stage, persona, topics, campaigns, use cases, awareness stage, and who is the owner of it. All got all sorts of things. Now you can not only you, any member of your marketing team can easily filter. Show me below if you bottom of the kernel content for CFOs in fintech vertical, and it just pulls out all the contents related to that. How mindful it is, how brilliant it is to use for your teams. It instantly give them a lot more leverage to use each and every content. It's simply empowering or educating them to take better decisions on what content to use at every part of their campaign. And this is how you are going to you go from uh, content chaos to content on demand, right? Uh, now comes the part that separates busy marketing from effective marketing, which we call it as activation of content. With marketing operation owning the infrastructure, now you can plug content into your campaigns with a deliberate intention. Email nurtures trigger based on content engagement. Paid content can promote high performing gated assets to the right personas. A sales development representative had an instant access to the pre-mapped content for the outreach sequences. You can use personalization tools like Drift dynamically serve content by the segment or funnel stage. You can even feed that thing into the kind of chatbot tools to answer or to create demand in an intriguing way for the prospects. CRM workflow scores, and you can route those leads based on who interacted with which content. For instance, let's take for example, like if a lead consumes three pieces of the middle of the funnel content within a single week, like from Monday to Sunday, then they can be automatically escalated into sales ready nurture stream. And you can tag them for a particular sales development representative, and ask them to outreach to that prospect, maybe by including a case study. And that's the beauty of activation, the properly you are tracking, tagging things, and this is possible by doing that, right? So here is where it comes full circle. Okay, so with content tied into your campaign architecture or the CRM and the life cycle stage, you can finally measure exactly what matters. Like you can easily find answers to questions like what assets are influencing pipeline, which are leads stalling, and what content can re-engage them, which nurture sequences are performing best, and why does it performs best. How does content impact the size of the deal, how this content has impacted to increase the speed of the particular prospect to move from problem unaware stage to product aware stage, and how can it increases the close rates of particular product vertical. um, so all of these questions you will be able to answer with a proper reporting structure. Instead of reporting on vanity metrics like views or just downloads of your content, now you are answering questions to your CFO or revenue ops leaders actually cares about. They cares about how much pipeline did our Q and content strategy drive, and which content accelerated the sales cycle in our elite accounts. What assets are no longer effective and needs to be retired or maybe revamped into a new content to be more specific to the current challenges of our prospects. So all these questions, like these are all high level questions that the C leaders will be asking for, and you will be better prepared to answer such questions. And now the marketing operations becomes your content performance control center, right? And instead of guessing things to what to make next, you are using the data to double down on what works and what doesn't. You can just eliminate what doesn't, and you can easily pick what could work for the next quarter or the next month's plan. So you already have the people, you already have the tool, but without structure, but without operation and alignment, it's all just motion without a momentum. So this content to revenue thing or the loop is it's not just a theory, it's a system. And until you try to make that system works, a system that makes sure every asset contributes to the growth, not just the engagement or vanity metrics, because when you stop chasing content metrics and start owning the pipeline outcomes, you are not just building marketing, you are building a growth engine, right? Now comes the trickiest part. So executing the content strategy is the hardest part. Now what we have seen so far is only the strategy part of it, and at this point the path forward may be clear, but it could still be a little overwhelming to connect all these dots. It's not that marketing teams do not understand what needs to happen. It's not kind of like that. It's that they're already staged. Maybe you couldn't have anticipated, or you didn't see that coming, like moving fast and juggling 10 other priorities. You might have a bandwidth issue. And here's the truth that more leaders eventually run into. They need a process. You cannot solve a content alignment problem with content alone. Like you need a process, you need a system, you need a team, and you need structure that doesn't slow you down but lifts the weight out of your team's shoulders. This kind of transformation doesn't come from just hiring more writers, doesn't comes from hiring more like teams in the marketing. You need people that have done this time and time again. And like what like it's not a thing that you could learn one ad hoc time. And it comes from looking at your content campaigns operations as all one interconnected system holistically. And I would suggest that if you are time bound, if you want to implement this, I would really suggest that to bring it to life, you need a partner. You need a partner who has done this time and time again, not just with content jobs or campaign experience, but with a holistic view across the demand generation of things, marketing operations of things, CRM of things, and strategy. And it's a very rare combination that an agency would have all of these things. And agencies that understand all of those moving parts and how they fit together are the best position to help you activate a true content to revenue engine. And you need agencies that provides end-to-end services. Like definitely Mavlers, the company that I work for, is definitely one of them. I am proud of it. We provide end-to-end services that connects all of these things at one central piece of it. We have the resources, we have the expertise, people working on it. And it's not just about hiring a CRM team and ask them these questions, and I want to create a um, content operation strategy implemented to create a demand gen. It There is a higher chance that they are not well equipped to do that. But if you go for the agencies that have full service end-to-end services, they have the right experience. They have came across such challenging situation a lot of time before, and your odds of having a success is much more by hiring such agencies. All right, that's about it. And now let's talk about the signs you need to rethink the content operations. um, so to be very frank, no one hits the pass button mid quarter to reflect on their content operations. But some or the other way, over time the tracks start to show. One way or the other way, you need to realize that there is a friction happening, and you see the delays. You start questioning that why so much effort is not turning into measurable impact. You are not, even though you are creating absolutely amazing contents, but why are they not moving the pipeline? Why are they not influencing the sales? So if this is what you are feeling like, I think it's time to rethink how your content campaigns and systems are connected to each other, right? um, Contents exist, but it's not easily found, used, or measured. Your team is producing highly quality content, but coming to the what we have already seen, that they are not able to address it. And we have seen things that needs to be done to make the team enable finding all of them. You are seeing that the there are the engagement happening, downloads are happening, form fills are happening, but the lead is stuck in that same stage, right? um, no signal is saying that the person is ready for more, that particular prospect is ready for more. If you are generating interest but not moving those leads through the funnel with the content, the problem likely is that it's not the content itself, it's how it's being deployed, it's how it's being used, right? So your dashboard shows up, it can show the page views, it can show the downloads, it can show the click-through rate, but when pipeline reviews happen, no one's talking about the performance of content has its own siloed metrics, but it doesn't take the center stage when the pipeline is being reviewed. And if you cannot confidently say which assets influence this pipeline, or which assets has shortened deal cycles, um, your CRM integration needs some work, not just on your content plan, definitely. And even with the right ideas, I would say, frankly speaking, content in hand, campaign launches can feel a lot of clunkiness into it. Approvals can take a lot of time, distribution is so manual, timelines can slip, of course, but when execution lags, it's often a sign that your content workflows and operational layers need attention, not your team's motivation, right? So operational gaps don't always scream for attention, but they could compound quietly over time. You don't need more contents always at any point of time. You don't need more writers or better writers or a more flashier campaigns. You just need an alignment, a visibility, a system that helps you turn your team turn content into a momentum, right? So yeah, and that's what I was trying to convey. I hope I made myself better clear with you. um, uh, yes, so final thoughts that content alone doesn't drive growth on its own. It only becomes powerful when it's connected to the context of why we are doing it. And the content doesn't happen by publishing more, and that connect sorry and that connection doesn't just happen by publishing more. It happens by designing with intent. It happens by activating with precisions. It happens by measuring the clarity of that content's purpose. So the teams that gets that right are not the ones producing the more of the content, but they are the ones who content moves across the pipelines, because it's mapped, it's operationalized, it's sustainable, and it's built into the way that they go to market. um, so yeah, so if the content feels like it's not working, don't assume you need to scrap the strategy. More often than not, what you need is a structure, and that's the different between content as output and content as a growth engine. Yep, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.